Fundamentally, what we're trying to do is figure out the best type of information for us to look at to basically bring together, closer together, marketing and business. So what we look is through the lens of any information that we want to look at, we call it data. It has to serve a business purpose. Right? So I think we want to move the equation to create a tighter connection between marketing and business. First-party data has always been and will always be important. I think what's happened in this day and age with the abundance of information is that the first-party data has become so expansive that it's lost in this core focus of what we ultimately need it for. So I think part of what we're trying to do for our clients is work with them to identify what that first-party data has to be. Because as we look at data coming from a lot of different places, so does the client. And the same challenges we have, they have, which is how do I structure this information, which was most meaningful for me as a business, so that I can then work with my agencies in order to connect the right data sources, second party, third party. But at the end of the day, the most valuable information ultimately sits, if it's the right information, structured the right way, in an environment, easily attainable, easily transferable, easily connected, right, and easily portable, then I think we can then look at other pieces of information to expand the outer ring of a core focus. Because just alone, a first-party data, although powerful, it limits scale. And if you can't scale in this environment, scale with the pace of a consumer, it becomes very limiting.
George, tell us about your view of targeted, addressable versus sort of more broader brand. I mean, there's no magic formula, but how do you sort of shape that up, particularly now that there's so many great addressable format, strategies?
So I think when we look at all brands go after a massive audience. So I have a philosophy that's saying you don't really want to be too precise. So for example, a pizza category, everybody loves pizza, everybody loves hot dogs. Why do you need to be one-to-one at that level, right? There is a fair balance where you have to look at precision at scale. So although I need to be driving a tighter connection between my brand and the consumer, I don't really need 1 million creatives to go after 10 million people at that level of individuality, because my brand is all-encompassing. It's loved by everyone. So we think we need to have those conversations about, do you really need that many creatives? Do you really need to be that personal? Because that takes a lot of time, energy, and effort, versus is your brand such a value brand, such a massive appealing brand that it makes sense to have a broad strategy and pick your opportunities where you might want to go after more precise audiences at a more targeted level, but not sacrifice the broad appeal of the brand.
Cool. And what about the expectations for performance and ROI? How is that changing, and what are the tools available to you?
So I think when I look at the past, present, and future of our business, I think the fundamental things that we look at have not changed. We're still trying to connect the consumer to a brand. What's changed is everything in the middle. I'll use that same philosophy when we look at performance. I don't know why we think performance or accountability is a new thing. It's always been around, right? Why would somebody invest $1, right? If you think it's an investment, you're not going to invest anything to reap a negative, you want a positive. So from an accountability perspective, what I think we've seen is the scrutiny from an investment that is ultimately saying, well, we're going to hedge that bet longer term because the brand equity is there. What the expectation is, I think, today, which is maybe sacrificing the long-term health of a brand, is the short-termism of the ROI that is expected today. And a brand, you don't build in a day. You build over 10 to 20 to 50 to 100 years. So although I think accountability should always be there, if you invest $1, you want to return on that dollar, but the expectation should be that that dollar, that return on that dollar, might come over the 5 or 6 or 7 years. The things that we have at our disposal today to be able to connect data in a way that allows us to have a lot more transparency, clarity, and therefore confidence in our investment decisions provides us a venue where we can say with true visibility, saying for every dollar we're going to invest, we expect the return to be X. That X will be delivered today because we're meeting the demand that people are presenting today. The Y will be delivered as we meet the demands in the future.